Welcome to episode 1 of the spin-off show you've heard of, Trainer Talks. Today, I introduce you to Trainers Talk. Took me a long time to think of that, by the way. We won't introduce you yet. We're keeping you a surprise. So basically, what this is going to be, this show, once a month for around 30, 45 minutes, we're going to bring what we believe matters to a PT. So obviously on Trainer Talks, we talk about industry trends. We talk about news, what's coming up, the business. This is about being inside of the business now, talking about from the front line, what should PTs know, how should we train people, and looking at what's coming up in social media. So when I thought, who's going to be my co-host for this? Who is going to have all of the knowledge, all of the wisdom that I don't have? There was only one man for the job. He wasn't available. So instead, I got Mr. Mikey Smith. Mikey, how are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you. How are you?
So for those that don't know, Mikey, who are you? Give a little background of you.
So I'm the fitness manager at Battersea and an elite PT. Been with the business, I guess, 14 years, but had 2 years where I kind of went traveling, went seeing the world, and then
Found
came
yourself.
back. Found myself.
Did you come back with a yoga qualification? That's usually what you've got to do to find yourself, I'm just saying.
Found myself, though.
Yeah, nice. And you found, basically, you went away, thought, what do I want to do in my life? And thought, well, actually, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, it's time to reflect. Came back to London 2019 and then realised there's only one place where it's at, and that's third space.
Nice. And give us a bit about your fitness journey, because you've got quite a deep one, quite a good one.
Yeah, so I started off in track as a teenager, track and gymnastics, competed in track until my early 20s when I was actually at uni. And then kind of carried on weightlifting. Part of that training process was lots of kind of plyometrics, weightlifting, and carried that on right the way through.
Wow. And obviously you've got to mention bodybuilding maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's something that's carried on. I've been competing now for 21 years. I forget myself.
Since
it's
you
a
were
long
2?
time. Since I was -3.
Yeah. No, and where did you go? What was your sort of accolades in bodybuilding?
Started off in the natural federations, quite quickly, performed pretty well. Didn't see myself as a bodybuilder though, saw myself as a rookie, and to some extent kind of still do. But did well, won shows, and then kind of kept competing. I'd have a few years off, go back in, and kind of just keep holding myself to account really by competing.
How have you seen it change in the years that you've been doing it? Because for me as an outsider, it seemed to be back in the 90s, should we say, or even like the noughties, it was very much bodybuilding. It was very much like how far can we push our physiques? And then I saw a sort of switch of, well, now we're going to allow long shorts, and it's all about how you look physically in the face as well as the torso, and like more of a model type thing. And then now it's, do you know what I mean?
So yeah, I think they've tried to make it more marketable. It just became when it was size. I think in the 90s, that's the era that I love, when it was about the classic look. So the lines, the symmetry, the balance. Think of like Lila Brada, kind of Flex Lewis as well. But back in the day, there was an art to it. And I think then as the pharmaceuticals got better, it became, in my opinion, a bit grotesque. And then we just saw it's a size game. So then they try and bring in these categories to try and make it more appealing to the masses, something that they can relate to compete themselves, but also bring the crowds in, bring the viewership in as well.
Oh, yeah, of course, because it's going to be the viewers that kind of make the sport in a sense.
Yeah, and kind of fund it in a way as well, buying magazines and kind of subscribing to programs or kind of, they subscribe to the person, to the bodybuilder. It's like a fan base. And I think it's never been bigger, to be honest, at the minute.
The rise of social media, I guess, helped, as well as bit of a detriment as well. But
yes, which I'm sure we'll get into later on.
I'm sure we will at some point. We'll be bringing up, so the idea is that me and you will be doing this at least once a month.
At least.
At least.
They might kick me off after the first one.
Once a month. So for those that don't know, myself and Mikey, we train, let's say once a week. Let's not try and push the boat now and then.
Well, we do more, but you play paddle like 5 times a week.
Can I just say I didn't mention paddle? You did. And you know, yes.
Just got it out of the way, Josh, because we had to.
But I've got a holiday coming up, so now we're training at least twice a week. We trained before this, funnily enough.
Yeah, we did. Will you do paddle when you're away or no? Because you won't be in the gym, will you?
No, I'll be in the gym. Do you think my wife's going to let me leave the hotel and go play paddle?
Knowing her, absolutely not.
This is it. So Mikey's kind of our adopted part of the family as well. So Mikey knows my wife. He knows my struggles and my tribulations in life. Anyway, Mikey, enough about me. This is about you. So let's talk, right? So when you first started at Third Space, you came in, you did PT1, changed your life.
It did. Oh, you mean when I came back?
When you came back.
It did. I came back, and I guess we all have an ego, don't we, as PTs? And I came back, and it was Fiona Jenkinson, who I've known for years. She's the FM, and I was like, Fee, like, do you think Third Space would have me back? And she was like, absolutely. But it's changed a little bit. And I said, what do you mean? Well, apart from clubs merging, sorry, I've got my fan here in case it gets too hot.
What is hold on. Wait. Bring that fan back up, Mikey. What is that?
Well, this is actually my fan because it's very, very hot outside. This is your daughter's fan, actually, isn't it?
So you
stole this from the.
You stole a
from
4-year-old's
pocket.
fan. Oh my god!
Well, she won't know. Anyway, so I came back, and obviously, Third Space had merged. It was, I think, 4 clubs at that point.
That's right.
It was 2. It was the Third Space when I was there, Marleybone, and then obviously it had grown to, I think, 4 clubs. And PT1 was at Canary Wharf, and I remember...
5th club, sorry, City.
City
just opened, so it was Canary, City, Tower, because they took Tower, Marylebone and Soho, so 5.
Yeah, so 5. Yeah. And the change even at that point was huge. And I was at Canary Wharf doing PT1, and I remember thinking, it's fine, like it'll be... They said it was upstairs, so I tootled in, and I got the wrong... I think it was the weight training area, said the GX studio.
Oh, yeah.
And there was something else going on, and I was like, oh, this huge studio. Clearly I was in the wrong room, and I'm like, oh, God, this place is huge. And, you know, for a minute, I was a bit like overwhelmed. I was like, I should just leave. Like, where am I going, you know? So then walked upstairs, found the room, met you. And I loved it. I loved PT1. It was like my ego kind of got slapped a little bit, and it was like, no matter where you're at, this is what you have to do. Third Space has a standard, and this is what we do. And it was really eye-opening and then actually inspirational. And that's when I look at the next chapter of my PT life began.
And then you did a similar route, or we both got really, I say obsessed, but about mechanics, right? Went down the RTS.
Yeah.
Tell me about RTS, Michael Gordon. How did that go?
Yeah, so I'd always applied those methods. When I say those methods, so progressive overload, accommodating resistance, drop sets. We used to call it matrix training, but that would just be training different parts of the lift, length and short and mid-range, all of that. So I've been doing that intuitively for years. And then suddenly I'm like, there's a whole kind of system behind this. And that's when it was introduced to Michael, who's amazing. And suddenly we've got the science to back that up. And I was just hooked.
Do you not find, though, that they called it bro science back in the day of bodybuilding? Do you not find that actually a lot of that bro science became science later on? It was kind of like the bodybuilding gyms became the studies, and then science is just backing up what they've been sort of testing all along, right?
Exactly. I guess it's intuition, isn't it? Initially, you trial and error. Some things work, some things don't. A lot of those things stuck, those training methods. If we look at volume training and I mentioned matrix training, there was a book on that, which was, again, just training different parts of that muscle position, length and short. And in terms of like drop sets and mechanical drop sets, rest pauses, all those things, we're now becoming a thing, but with different names.
Yeah.
With more science behind it, so we can back up why we do it. And that for me was what really kind of hooked me. It was like, I've been doing this for years, but there's actually science behind it. And it's less trial and error and just more results driven.
Yeah. Backed
by science. And that's what I loved about it.
I think for me as well, when I did RTS, I realised very quickly, how many years, I can't remember the year I did RTS, it might have been 2018, so I would have been in the industry for 10 years at that point. And I realised very quickly that, oh no, like I should have known a lot of this as a PT. Like why don't I know the difference between jumping on, I better not name any brands, but why might I jump on one of our machines like Cybex or soon to be Gym 80? We'll talk about Gym 80.
Yeah.
Soon to be Gym 80 why does that feel different to another gym's machine? Like, why is it that leg extension feels different?
Yeah.
Why does it hurt, but that one doesn't? Feels good, that one doesn't.
And I think there's a lot to be said for if you went to a bodybuilding gym prior to one of your more bougie gyms, you kind of just assumed that there was a machine for every body part, and it felt good, although you didn't quite know why. Well, of course, we now realise that's because the engineering behind it, the craftsmanship was so on point that the cams are developed to give you the optimum lift, so that you could kind of match that strength profile with that resistance profile. And those things kind of happened back in the day because you just pushed the weight, the machine did it for you. But then I think we've had to become more discerning as gym layouts have changed. It became, I think, I want to say in the 2000s, maybe functional training became a thing, which we don't quite know what that means.
Well, what's unfunctional? My question is when people say this is functional, well, what's unfunctional?
Yeah, exactly.
What sort of training would be unfunctional?
Yeah, or what's dysfunctional.
Yeah, or dysfunctional,
But then it became clear that then it became trendy to remove Smith machines from a gym. And then you had these more kind of open spaces with rigs. And then, of course, we had then the intro of CrossFit and, and currently as we see it with High Rocks, which is fantastic. But we've always, if you like, in the background had bodybuilding. And now I think that's more mainstream. We're now beginning to see, again, the need for these kind of machines that cover everything. But then I think the consumer now is far more discerning and they know what a good machine looks like. They know what brands are out there.
Yeah, and I think as well, it became maybe the last 5 to 10 years that the sort of equipment manufacturers not rest on their laurels, but could have, by just sticking the same cam in every machine because people didn't really demand it. To everyone, a lot of PTs even, and a lot of clients, every cam's the same, every machine's the same. So I don't really, quote unquote, care.
Yeah. I think, you would go onto a machine, it would just feel good, and you might not know why. Of course, we always see the usual thing, someone goes on a chest press, for example, and we know where it's heavy and where it's light, and we would coach full range, not quite knowing why we're coaching full range. But then realising the setup of that machine really is crucial.
Yeah.
But where do you set it up from? Because there might be 3 settings, 5 or 6 settings on a seat height, maybe 3 or 4 settings on where that handle is positioned. We just assume that that's correct because it's designed that way. Well, now we realise, well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe the things we can do to get optimum results before we even actually set that machine up, insofar as priming, kind of preparing for the workout. But then even really knowing and understanding that machine, you can really amplify it.
Yeah.
And for me, the machines that do that best are the ones which don't need that much setting up, if you like. They're kind of there, good to go.
Yeah, because let's face it, the machines that we go and train on, like today we was on a Strive chest press.
Yeah, with all the different settings.
There was loads, not just on the cam structure. I've actually got a video. Let me bring the video. I've got a little video.
If he's got the video there, though, what's amazing is that's an amazing arm. Is that mine?
That is yours, Michael. So basically each one of those, I guess, numbers, you can see different colours there, but each one in the background, you can change the cam, which means the position of the peak of the cam changes. So it means there's another picture of it.
Look at all the diagrams. There are like 9 different resistant curve diagrams.
No, but don't forget, there's actually more, because that was cam 5, 9, and 1. There's still cam 2, 8, like there's all different. Yeah. And the thing is, that's great. For us, we were geeking out. We love that stuff. But even we at the beginning got it wrong.
Yeah, we did. We were looking at the inverse of that resistance curve graph. So we were like...
It's because it was talking about force somewhere.
Yes.
I think I saw it at bottom force. So I was like, oh, this is force profile, strength profile. When actually it was resistance
profile.
So just for those, because just in case there's PTs or someone listening that don't understand what we're looking at here, right? If you look at number 6, so top left, that little wave, that is showing you the magnitude of heaviness as you push through the movement. So you can change the cam to be light, goes heavy, and then drops off. Yeah, very simply. Or you can go to number 1 and make it really heavy and drop off to light.
Yeah.
Where what we look at for RTS is, all right, in this position, in this movement, where are we strongest, where are we weakest? And we are actually strongest at the end range of a chest press. Yeah. We're weakest closer to the body. So number 9 would probably be, or number 8 would be the best one to start with if we're trying to get a full range challenge, what we would consider tension throughout the full range. But what we might have done, and I think this is where the PT element comes in. It's like, let's look at the totality of the program and we go, we've done X, Y, and Z. What haven't we overloaded today? Well, we haven't overloaded the shorten range. So what we're going to do is load up number, 7 or number 6. So let's target that shorten range position. There's still a little drop off, but we really target it rather than trying to match the profile.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is quite advanced, isn't it? Like I always say with RTS, it's really important to know the architecture of your client. It's crucial to know what their range is, active, passive, all of that. But then I think as well as we can coach, the user needs to understand what it feels like to be training a lengthened mid short position or whatever. Otherwise, once they're working through the sets, as per what we've just seen, if they perhaps don't know the experience of what that feels like or what they're going after, they're essentially just pushing through it. That was an incredible diagram there. But even us, and we're fairly versed in this, right? We were like, okay, let's see if it matches up to kind of what we expect. And on one of the sets, I literally couldn't get it moving. The drop off was virtually.
I just want to say I lifted it, but that's all right.
Yeah, well, you're much stronger than me, aren't you? So really, really, really tough in the beginning. Once it got moving, the drop off was almost too sudden.
Instant, yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, so if I'm coaching that to a client, knowing what that feels like, I'm going to say, okay, like get that set up absolutely perfect, initiate the movement, but bear in mind it's going to drop off really quickly. So like, how can we then coach that so it's not just pushing through really quickly, not getting any training effect?
Yeah, too much acceleration, inertia.
Yeah.
But also the thing is people go, why have we got machines like that in third space? Because clients haven't got 10 minutes to
set
read
it up,
the diagram. And also don't forget there was the handle position. There was like 7 different positions in the handle. So we're now trying to get, right, where's elbow position? And
all of it.
The clients don't really have enough time. I mean, so Strive, just to let you know, so this cam, that adjustable cam, it was Prime that now owns Strive.
Right.
So Strive went basically bust and Prime took over.
Should get my notes out, Josh, and start making notes here.
Yeah, this
Love
is
that.
It. Yeah, you like it. So so Prime bought out Strive. They went bust. But the thing is with that is they've all got adjustable cams to do that. Our clients wouldn't know what to do. And if they did overload in a certain position, which they haven't got tolerance to, or they haven't even been training, like imagine they're overloading in the lengthened, and like what we were doing, and they've never pushed, or they're in a bad position, closed pack position with the humerus. It's like
really passive position.
There we go.
They're not used to their tissues being kind of challenged in that way, and this is like then risk, isn't it? And that's the issue, is what's the risk reward of that exercise? And by the way, like, should everyone be doing that? Should we be looking at these different positions? If you're a fairly new lifter, then surely we're just trying to get the movement pattern in.
Yeah.
Control.
Control
obviously
and strength.
Go after strength.
Yeah.
So I do see it as advanced. But again, everyone's got a different start point. But I think for what we're looking at is that the basics can be done. All movement patterns can be understood by the client or by whoever's lifting. And then there's so many different directions you can go to progress. Mid-lengthened position, time under tension, of course, weight. But then again, what's their why? What is their goal?
Who's the client? What's the goal?
You always need to know their goal.
So there's a few people online that will say, don't train muscles, train movements, right? And they'll say this stuff is not good for athleticism. It's not. What's your thoughts on that? I'll give mine afterwards. This
could be a whole podcast within itself.
Yeah. A tidbit and then
PC answer.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think everything's a movement, right? So choreography. So ultimately, we should be thinking of movements and we should be thinking of muscles. I think the problem is that we separate these things and then it's like them black and white. It's not. It's one of the same.
Try to tell me do a horizontal press without it being pec dominant.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you get some delts, all right, whatever. But
my triceps.
yeah, okay, fine. But do a horizontal press without horizontal flexion, and that basically bringing brought by the pecs.
Yeah.
Like, okay, don't move any muscles, do the movement. It's not going to work.
Yeah, and again, going back to the client's anatomy, their architecture, it may well be that they are biasing more delts.
Like me.
Yeah.
See my shallow rib cage. It's beautiful.
I just tell him, stick your chest out, Josh, but he doesn't. Breathe in.
Yeah.
Create a lever.
But, leather or a lever?
Lever.
That's the northern in you. Anyway, but think about this. Was there any muscle that you injured when you was doing track or anything? I don't know.
Yeah, my hamstrings a lot, but that was doing overspeed training.
Okay.
Both hamstrings, 2 on the left, 1 on the right, both grade 2s.
You got 2 hamstrings? Different. But here's the question is, and this was leading on to what I was saying, people go, no, there's no need to train like this if your goal is, I don't know, speed or whatever. Who knows, if you would have trained, and I do know, if you would have trained both lengthened and shortened range of hamstring, would that have been able to tolerate more force? Absolutely. Like you are building capacity in that muscle, and you are also building recoverability and strength. So to say to people doing isolation exercises or machine exercise will not help improve your sport is a total lie. This has been proven for decades.
Absolutely, and I just think, like, if a good coach will understand what their athlete needs to do, where do we have opportunities? You know, yeah, we should always be as strong as we can be, but it has to cross over, doesn't it, into the realms of the sport?
Yeah.
So, you know, as a 100-meter sprinter, there's far more to it than just running quickly from point A to B.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the reaction time, we've got block clearance, drive phase, top end speed maintenance.
Hello, he knows his stuff.
And all
Hello,
of that,
Mikey.
you see, still there. Now, all of that needs careful choreography, right? Now, you might say, well, I can ask-to-grass squat 200 kilo plus. It doesn't necessarily translate.
It doesn't mean you got the skill.
Exactly. And so, for me, whatever that athlete needs to do to bring out their best performance is what should be explored. And, you know, to have these ideas that we shouldn't be doing this nor that, like who says and why,
Yeah.
you know.
This is it. And I think to sort of what they say, throw the baby out of the bathwater, it just doesn't make sense. And this is why, if you think about Nordics became a thing in football, it wasn't simply because the Nordic curl is a magical movement. They're directly training their hamstring.
Yeah.
And I also do believe in things like energy leaks, as in, if you are not efficient at contracting a muscle in a certain position and you are trying to drive force through the body, do you not think you are probably losing some force when it comes to like muscle groups that are unable to contract in certain positions?
Absolutely, I like the energy leaks.
Do you like an energy leak?
I'm definitely leaking. Oh God, that sounds awful. You know, absolutely, yeah. I think it's important to be able to zoom out and look at kind of what energy systems do we need to use, and then as you go back into the more granular level with periodizing or whatever, it's looking at where you can find these opportunities to minimize these leaks, but still kind of ensure that you don't get lost and you're still focused on the overall goal.
Yeah, because you'd still, don't get me wrong, this would play a part in the program, but it wouldn't be, I mean, if you want to be a better runner, there's nothing you should be doing in the gym really to be a better runner. You should just go and run.
Yeah.
So it's an addition to, and it's...
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I remember reading back in the day, I think it was like Ben Johnson, like how strong he was, you know, what he could squat. Even Flojo back in the 80s, like she could ask to grasp 150 kilograms, you know. Ben Johnson, some crazy numbers. There's some like video footage of him, and I immediately thought, I'm already quick, so if I can lift these crazy numbers, then I'll run 9.79 as well. You know, might be other things involved in that 9.7 bits. But to me, that was inspirational. You know, knowing what they lifted, that sprinting wasn't just going to the track. There was, you know, there's far more to it. I mean, no, we know, you know, you go on Instagram, you look at some sprint coaches, the stuff now, the technology we have is incredible. But they were doing this, you know, kind of in the 80s. The GDR in the 70s revolutionized training. And that went right through up to the late 80s. And then, you know, the US obviously have started dominating as well.
Yeah.
So I'm vibrating here.
You got your phone.
Yeah.
But also, I would say, even though you've been bodybuilding,
Yes.
you still jump insanely high.
Yes.
And we've seen it. Like, everyone's seen it. So it's not, everyone goes, when you get big, you lose speed and what? Like,
yeah, I mean, in my mind, I can still perform like I did back then. And, you know, I think when I was sprinting, I was 67 kilos. Now I'm north of 90. So, but in my mind and my motor skills, I'm still there.
Yeah.
Until you see video footage, and then you get humbled really quickly.
We won't talk about your ankles neither, but
yeah, lots going on.
So you are one of my confidants when it comes to. Rob was like, look, let's look at some other machine manufacturers.
Yeah.
Josh, what do you think? So I got you involved, a few others, and we went over to Germany.
We did.
Yeah, and we saw Gym 80.
Yeah, they were amazing, weren't they?
Amazing.
Just looked after us, didn't they?
They did, and the engineering. It was precision, like German engineering. It was like,
yeah, it was
so
incredible.
let's say like this arm has this curve. There was a machine specifically that just does this bend.
Yeah.
For every machine out there, if there's like a 20-degree bend, that is the 20-degree bend machine. So every 20-degree bend is exactly the same.
And if you want a 30-degree bend, they'll like modify it.
You put that, you quickly modify the machine, and it's crazy. It's mental.
And when we went to their actual plant, like a bloody power plant, a warehouse, it was huge and so expansive, and I was almost overwhelmed just at the scale of it all. But the care and attention, you know, you could see that everything had a purpose. Every part of that kind of process. There was lots of welding going on. There was almost like a section of it was like an archaeology. It was like there was things hanging from the ceiling,
like a museum.
contorted,
because they were doing research and development with some of the machines, weren't they, and checking some of the force, and I think the care that their research and development team go into the cam structures. Mikey, when we're looking at machines, right, to go, this is a good machine versus not so good, but these are the ones we pick over them. We're not going to say someone's bad, someone's good. We're not going to do that. What would we look for to go, this is a good machine?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's like, what's the experience on that machine before we even look? Like, if it's pin loaded, you might follow that journey from the pin through the through the redirectors and all of that, right through to the output. But I guess for us, we just get on there and use it. And usually we'll both agree, right, that this is really good. And then we look and we see, oh yeah, we can see the precision, that the cam's been considered, that it's just engineered really, really well. And lo and behold, you'd look up and it is Panatta, it is Gym 80, Nautilus or whatever. Yeah. Now, you can see, even on these older pieces of kit, like 30 years old, some of them, aren't they?
I'll tell you what we'll do. Each episode, we'll get a couple of pictures of some of the really old kit, and we'll talk about it. Because remember that big hammer strength leg press? It's 3 times our height. No, that's not a joke.
Well, 4 times mine.
Yeah, so that machine is massive.
Yeah.
It is massive. We'll take a picture of it. But anyway, sorry. So we go in, we look at the cam structures, care and attention. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course it's like the usability as well. It's all very well having these setups, but it's like, does it work for us? Like, what is our goal in that session? Well, of course, we're experimenting a little bit and we're trying to see what works or what doesn't work. And then, of course, we've got to answer that question: is it suitable for our members in our clubs at Third Space? Yeah. And that's a whole different thought process, because what we would advocate and push for in terms of a single piece of kit might not be appropriate or whatever in one of our clubs. So that we've got to consider, a lot. And that's what I find really interesting on that visit, is how do we decide what would work in one of our clubs?
Because when Rob allowed me to kind of, I guess, get exposure into this world, which I've started to do this year a lot, you do start to realise that there's a lot more questions than just what is the best bit of kit to get. Because there is things like your footprint. So if it's 2 meters or 2.5, 3 meters, like I would love a pendulum squat in every single gym. That'd be unreal.
They're so humbling, aren't they? Pendulum squats.
Like with no weight. Like the one where we go. Oh my God. But anyway, but it's so big. It's like, well, in that one footprint, you could probably put a hack squat and a leg press. So it's like, what one would a member prefer? Well, most of the time, and I've heard members say anyway, the pendulum's too heavy. So it's like, all right, you might as well put a hack squat then and a leg press. You're going to service more members, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Right? We've got to look at the data. So I know in a lot of clubs we use Track My Gym, so we can see what pieces of kit are being used and at what times they're being used and all of that. Then, of course, from the member perspective, it's getting that feedback, whether it's Google reviews, NPS.
Members are getting more savvy, though.
Oh, they really are.
We've had feedback, and I remember John showing us the feedback.
Yeah, it was
replied
Battersea,
to us.
yeah.
Oh, was it at Battersea? He replied to us about I think it was 2 or 3 members that said, why do you not have this kit? And like Prime came up, Nautilus came up, and I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
People are getting a lot more savvy, and this is the rise of social media. And we'll look at, going forward on some of the episodes, we'll look at people's posts about some of this mechanic stuff, because I think people go too far. Like, let's face it, people... I think they just want to make some controversy.
They do. They've been on Instagram. They've picked up a few things. You know, and they
sound good.
Yeah, they know they want a stretch position on the the beginning of a leg extension, so they have to ghetto rig it with yoga blocks to try and get that same position. And great, good for you. You understand mechanics to the point that you know how to modify a machine.
Full range, well done.
However, we have to consider that we have a huge and wide varied member type, I want to say, at Third Space. So we have to consider everyone into the equation, and then obviously it's for commercial use, right? So it has to withstand a lot of usage.
Yeah, that's the big one. It's maintenance schedules. It's how quickly can we get parts? How quickly can it get fixed? If it's going to take 4 weeks, not only that, but if you think about the rollout of clubs, they need to be able to manufacture, deliver everything to our specification within X amount of time.
Yeah.
If they can't, deal breaker. It's like, I think Prime was something like 2 years waiting list at the time.
Yeah.
And we can't wait for that.
No.
What I do like about Rob, John, etc., is they also think about, all right, what gym is this going into? For instance, we would probably say that Canary Wharf has a large population of people that are serious about physique.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Most people now are going into training not just for physique, reasons. Although I would still argue that's one of the biggest reasons why most people do it, even as a secondary goal.
Yeah.
You don't go to the gym even if you're for fitness. And if someone said, well, if you went to the gym and looked worse in 2 years, would you be happy with that? Well, probably not, but that's not my primary goal, but it's a secondary goal. But anyway, at Canary, we have some people that are really, I guess, serious about the physique, and actually some competitors go there and use it. So certain things, like, do you remember we did a video about it, and there was that big bodybuilder that commented on the video.
Oh, yeah.
We did the seated lateral raise that has, it looks like it's heavier at the top, but it has like a trailing arm that's actually where it's connected to. It's actually a really good design.
Yeah.
But they're bringing that into Canary.
I know, I heard.
And that drop, remember that drop set one?
Yeah. Are they getting that?
They're getting that. Funny how it's all the videos we did, Mikey. But but Katie Morris over at Canary Wharf, she understands. She's done RTS.
Yeah.
She's, again, one of our confidants and all this sort of stuff. But so what I like is, we might not see another lateral raise across the estate. It might just be Canary Wharf, or maybe open up somewhere else where there is a bigger community of physique people. But it's, all right, what gym, but what type of member? What's, the main demographic of members? I don't think you'd see that gym in Islington, for instance.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's we have to look at the demographics of our clubs and who's using what. Obviously, Canary Wharf, there is that need. Now, to go back to John and to Rob, who, by the way, like, they consider so much that I was quietly impressed when we went to Germany with their thought process, not only in the way they asked us to show up and test and consider our bits, but they were having their conversations as well with regards to footprint, SLAs, so service lease agreements, all of that stuff.
Even branding and...
Yeah, all of it. Like, we're thinking it's got to be matte black. The logo has to be just right. It has to look the part as well.
And also, what I like about both of them, as soon as we got there, first thing we were ready for, they was like, right, we need to get on the equipment now.
Yeah.
Right, perfect. Because that's what you got to do.
Yeah, we had free
just have meetings, have a look. We need to try it.
Absolutely. But going back to your original kind of comment where you were saying maybe Canary would have, a machine for side laterals, not at Islington, it's like, well, what are the members suggesting? What do they want? Because ultimately we can do a side lateral raise with cables. It's a great effect. Dumbbells even if you need to. Yeah. So why would we take that available footprint and put this very specific machine in there? And well, that's because it has a purpose in it, and it has use, and it will be used by those members.
By me.
Josh.
By me and Mikey Smith.
Yeah, we will just
for us.
Trap my gym will be flying through the roof because I'll be there all day on my day off. Just,
flying
we're
without
keep
wings.
This machine.
Yeah. We'll make sure it's worked with. Oh, nice. All right. So, Mikey, we've actually gone over the time already.
Have we? We've not even started, have we?
It's 35 minutes.
No way.
But that's cool. It's a good intro. You've shown up, Mikey. Well done.
Yeah.
You've done us
I'll
proud.
be better next time as well.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I looked the part. And
well, we'll work on that. Don't worry about that. But you showed up with your comments. Oh, here we go.
I'm joking. This is not really who I am.
So I think what we'll do, right, we'll structure it on the next one. This was a good introduction to you, your thinking, your thoughts. You done well. But on the next one, what we'll look at is we'll do, all right, let's look at a couple of pieces of machines. Let's put them up, old school ones, new school ones, Jamaican ones that we've got around the estate. Then we'll have a certain segment of what's been on social media, what have we seen. And then last one will be a specific topic for about 10 minutes, which you've actually prepared one about the client.
Yeah.
We'll do that next week.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So this was Trainers Talk, episode 1.
Well, let's see how it comes out.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry, trainer, you're coming, mate. Let's see how it comes out. You see how he does this? He was like, yeah, it'll be good. Well, let's see how it comes out. So non-committal. This is a story of your life.
Non-committal?
That can be episode 3. We'll talk about being non-committal.
You went there.
So, on that note, episode 2 next month, we'll be talking about the client, but we'll also do some analysis of machines of where we are, and also look at some Instagram stuff. Is it a thing? Is it not? All good?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Bring it.
I will bring it, Mikey. Perfect. As always, everyone, see you on the next episode.
See you next time.